picture too?
Ready?
One of them.
Okay.
Okay. And then you get to keep the other. Yay! Thank you very much.
You bet.
So the other one, the one on Fleetwood, they're gonna, supposedly they want to take back possession.
Yeah. Now Gavin has been talking to me about that one. Because after we sent the letter, I mean, they started communicating
Very
immediately.
quickly.
Yeah.
They swore up and
Amazing
down
what
they
a
never
search
got the
warrant-
letter,
Yeah.
but it was real funny because the day that they were supposed to have got it, all of a sudden they're knocking on the door.
So we do it a particular way because they
Janice, did you hear from Scott Fairman? Is he coming?
He is coming.
Okay. He comes in from downtown, so it's kind of hard. It's hard for him to get here on time.
Now,
Yeah.
Julie said she may not make it.
Yeah, that's what yeah. But we already have a quorum, so we could start any time, right? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we officially 5:30, so we can go ahead and get going. Yeah. Oh, where's your? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. Call it. We're going to call it to order. Roll call.
Justin Daly.
Ben Henderson.
Mike Drury.
Tom Sims.
Okay. The first thing is to review and take action on the minutes from the 123 meeting of the joint EDC City Council meeting and the 314 EDC meeting. So let's kind of walk through those minutes. Okay, do we have any comments or thoughts on these minutes? Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
I move that the minutes be accepted as written.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that's the minutes. Did you give motions on both sets of minutes, or that was on the first set of minutes?
The first,
Okay.
or the second
The
set.
workshop minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're on the minutes for the last meeting, the
March 14th.
March 14th meeting.
I move that minutes for the March 14th minutes meeting be approved as written.
Okay.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved as written. So is there any citizen, the next item is to take action on the financial statements as of the 2/28, the last meeting, we did not have the financials, so let's review the financials. They're all here now? Is the money all still there?
Let's just look at the March one since we have the others.
Okay.
I want to point out two things to you. The first thing is the sales tax this year is 25% over last year. Now, there was $13,000 of audit collections in this last one, which would tend to about $3,200 a year, but it's 25% over last year's, and it looks like it's going to stay that way because it's coming in. So we're at 70% of budget right now. So I have a feeling you'll be, over 100, 120, 140% of budget by the end of the year, which is good. It'll give you extra money. The second thing is if you go down to the capital expenditures down here, so far $86,715 has been spent, and down on little number 5 down at the bottom, it explains what they're all for. The solar panels were $25,900. I reduced it back to 16 because after we did the audit and talked to the auditors, they said that they preferred to let it, since it was paid last year, I put it as a prepaid since the work wasn't done, but they just said let it go through last year. So that $9,900 went through your last year's income.
Okay.
So it was taken out of here.
Okay, so that improved this year's financials.
But other than that, it just looks like you're going to have your interest is double over last year at this point in time too. So you're going to have a pretty good revenue stream coming in.
We need to figure out some projects and get some of that money spent, but that's further down on the agenda. So then, what about the financials for February?
I'll go over them real fast. it predates March, so you went from that your main thing is the capital expenditures went from 48 up to 85 because you had that big police expenditure for their radios and their laptops and those kind of items. And I wanted to point out that the 17,859 in February, that is sales tax from December. That's when December sales tax is spent. That's why when I saw this other one, which is 17,860, almost the exact same amount, I had to check it to make sure it was right. It was. And the reason it's the same amount is not because they had the same amount of sales in January. It is because 3,200 of that is about audit collections. It was $14,000 of audit collections overall, and that's when the state auditors go out and audit the businesses and money that should have been paid earlier or whatever they actually collect from at that time. So whenever you look at sales tax, you always have to look at that little line because you might mistakes having great sales when in reality it's from past where they've audited businesses who haven't paid correctly or haven't done what they're supposed to do, and they bring it all in during that period of time and just put it in there as normal sales tax.
So this month's current period capital expenditure.
Yeah, the capital expenditure
11.9.
were 48, and if you look on in February year to date, and if you look at in March, you see this 86,000. That 38,000 is a little bit of Voight Park, the ceiling fans, and the concrete repair. The rest of it is police. $33,000, something like that,
okay.
About where police went out, one of the actual expenses that you're authorized to spend on.
Okay.
When he does it, he actually puts the resolution number, which I ask him to on the invoice. That way we verify that it's,
Okay, so
an
you're
okay
tying
invoice.
all your tickets to approved approved projects, and so on the police.
What I'm going to have to do, I'm doing it down here right now, but next year it's hard to change the actual accounts and all because I have to set them all up. And next year what I plan on doing is setting them up like when you spend on something, fire department will be a fire department with different accounts in it, and then police will be police with different accounts in it. So when we code it, you'll actually see like a summary, like a department, police, or fire that shows that's where the money went to.
Okay, so we talked about that at one of the last meetings, but you're not implementing that until next year?
Well, I'm trying to get I got a lot of things that I'm doing at this time, and the audit that's why the audit went so long until March, was because we were trying to make changes in it. And I'm making changes as I go. A lot of them have been made, but a lot of the major changes will be at budget time. Really, it's got to be before that because we're going to do it at budget time. And there you'll see the different categories and everything for when we get into the other. I mean, I could, but I'd have to go back and read every resolution and stuff in part when I hadn't been here because some were last year that got spent this year and items like that. So what I thought is I'd just start from when we do the budget this year and have it completely redone so your financials. And in fact, I'm planning on having it so I print them out just like I do for council, since you're a separate entity, and just print out the financial
Which
statements.
meeting
bring it
is
to
the
you.
budget meeting? Which meeting do you prepare that for then?
I'm going to prepare it for the budget meeting.
But which meeting is that? Which
Oh,
month?
it's in the summer. It's in June. So that's why I'm working on trying to get all these things
So
done.
you're gonna have that right in front of that June meeting.
I'm trying to get it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then about this current period, the 11,977, was that the tree clearing coming through for the current period on the?
119,617.
Well, it's the current period.
That's what you spent. That's what you spent. The 119,617 is what you spent in the current year. So
No,
far.
I'm saying the current period capital expenditure, the current period item
It's 38,290.
on the February financial
Oh, February.
is 11,977. What's that?
Yep. And what that represents is you had the Voight Center. They did the concrete repair part. That was done.
Yeah, I
and
thought that wasn't on the. I thought
no,
you said
it's on
that.
February. It's not on. It is on March. It's in the year. It's in the year to date.
Okay.
And if you look down here, there's different amounts.
Okay.
In February than in March. I put down wherever they're going to.
What I'm really looking for is the tree invoice came through. It was redirected to you. They did a collection on it, and they were getting with Janice on that, and she was directing that to you. Did the tree clearing? Because they've done a collection on it.
Oh,
They've
the
done
tree?
a collection effort on it already. Has it been paid? Because they responded real promptly when we asked them to do the work, and they said that they never got paid.
I don't
and
think,
now
I
they're-
don't, I don't think
So it
I've
still
seen
hasn't got paid.
I don't think I've seen the tree clearing invoice.
Okay, what do we need to do to get the tree company
I just have to
paid?
have an invoice with a signature on it.
Well, they've submitted it and resubmitted it. So
Just submit it to me. They can email it to me, and I can get it
Dennis,
that
do
way.
you know what I'm talking about? Because you were on that. The email stream was pointed to you.
I do remember us talking about it, but you know what? Since then, I've had a couple of things that I've done, but I can look up the email again to see if I have it. But yeah, I think the best thing would do if we could get it again, because I know we had some email issues in our department for a while there, so it may have been caught up in one of those things. But what's the name of the company, Mr. Drury?
It's Schultz.
Okay, I'll look at for
Landscape.
it right now.
I mean, it's just like, because we were kind of looking to involve them on some other things, but if we can't get their bills paid, it's going to be hard to get any interest in working with our city. So, you know, and this work was done back, I mean, it's pretty far back, so, yeah, before the golf tournament, so,
How
yeah.
far back?
All right.
Last year?
yeah.
Okay. Well, let me go back and look for it, make sure it wasn't paid by the wrong place, okay?
Well, okay,
I mean, you know, if
you
it
mean
comes
that-
through and it doesn't specifically say EDC owner or something, then it might have been paid for by Public Works or something. But I will check it, go into vendors and check it. It was Schultz.
Schultz Landscape.
Yes,
And
it
they pinged me or sent me an email in the last 30 days. I sent it straight to Janice saying that they had never been paid.
Okay, I'll check
So I
it out.
sent it over to Janice saying, can you please follow up with them, and she said she would communicate with you on that, so.
Well, that just tells me I don't need to look because they haven't been paid. They did it
Yeah.
30 days ago. That means that it didn't do it. So I'll check on it and see if the
No,
vendors
30
in
days
there-
ago, the work was done,
a long time ago.
yeah, 5-6 months ago, so, okay. So anyway, there's,
And I'm sorry, I was just about to tell you that Mr. Fairmont emailed me, and he's going to be a little late. Here he is.
okay. Okay, any more on financials? Any more comments or questions?
I have a question about the audits, the state audit. Is that something that's done routinely for all businesses, or is it at random on some businesses? Is it annual?
Oh, you mean our financial audit?
No, you referenced $14,000 of audit collections from the state audit report in February, and you said they go around to businesses and kind of true up what they should have reported on their sales tax.
Oh, I know. I don't know what business it is. Okay, they don't tell you what business it is. It's $14,000 that when they go out and audit businesses, sometimes you'll see up to 30 and 40. The state, randomly audits. And if they think some that like restaurants and stuff, because restaurants, you know, they consider manufacturing, so part of it you don't pay sales tax on, but they forget about the front. And they do things like that, and like giving out free cups of water. You can't do that because they're buying the cups tax-free and they're not charging tax on them. That's why some people charge you for water if you order it and paper cups and stuff. And that's what they do. They get tips. They do different things, but a lot of times they go random. They audit theoretically by random, but some businesses have more chance of not paying the correct sales tax, and the bigger that kind of business is, the more chance they get audited.
I see.
So they want to spend all their money to where they can get the most money.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Drury. I found them from Schultz. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll make sure
How much is it that we own at this point?
It looks like there's 2 invoices that they sent me along with a statement, or maybe you forwarded them to me actually. Let me look. It's opening up. My computer is very slow in here. Let's see. It looks like the total is $17,805. It was $10,000 for one invoice and $17,805 for another invoice. So we'll get it taken care of.
If y'all could expedite that, we would appreciate it. Okay, so any more comments or discussion on the financials?
Janice, so it was 27,000 from Schultz total?
17,805 total.
Oh, so not 17 for one and 10 for another?
No, it's 17 for one. 10 for one and 7 for the other. It's making it 17.
Okay. We have a motion on the financials.
I move to approve the financial statements.
Okay.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, first, any citizen participation? Has anyone, no one signed up, so, nope. Okay. Old business, to review and discuss the EDC joint workshop project list, prepared by Ben Henderson, and collectively identify which items can be eliminated from the list for future consideration. Each board member takes the new list and bring it back to the next meeting with their top 3 items to pursue going forward, unless EDC members are able to prioritize the top 3 in this meeting. Oh, we'll take it from the meeting unless we're able to do the prioritization within the meeting. So what I'd like to do, it's in the back of the packet, is just kind of go down through the list, get a take of who's here in this quorum, and see if there's anyone on this first item, the landscape and entries. And really what I'm looking for is you'd like to see that eliminated from the list from anyone up here. So, and you've got some of these already filled out. So,
Correct.
so the landscape and entry signage projects, so that's still a consideration. The business outreach assistance, that's really not, it's a project, but yeah, that's not a expenditure necessarily a specific item, but it's an important item. The City Hall infrastructure improvements for fire, police, land, and buildings. Beautification of entryways and common areas.
Is that a duplicate of number 1?
Kind of looks like it, but you want to combine those?
Just to shorten the list.
Yep.
Nothing else. Is this list, since you touched on, business outreach and assistance, is this list, is our goal here to have something that's tangible, projects?
Yeah,
or-
and then we need to start working on what do we want to make a priority and actually take action on. What I'm trying to do is boil it down. We did a workshop for a reason, to get a list.
Right.
So we got the list. Now we need to do something with this list.
And I guess going back to number 2, business outreach and assistance, is that, to me, that's,
It's pretty important.
it's important,
Yeah.
but it's not defined, right?
Well, we need to, we're going to go through, create the active list, and then we're going to kind of begin talking about the active lists. And under that item, what are we going to do on that? Are we going to develop a business directory and go and get advertising for all the businesses in the business directory and publish it for the citizens? Are we going to, what are the items that we can go do to help our businesses specifically?
Okay.
Now, everything we do is supposed to be helping our businesses, so that's kind of one that almost ought to be above them all. But
Mr. President, may I interrupt briefly?
yeah.
That particular one, if you may remember, was one of the handful of the ones that would reoccur each year that we created as a project. Those were created more to be reactionary, because at the time you had businesses that would call up and they would want to do stuff, or you heard of something that thought, we might be able to help this business do something, so you wanted to reach out to them and provide assistance. But it was difficult because of the reaction time to do individual projects for every little thing that kind of came up.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is the predetermined project resolutions that we had.
Yes.
That's not what this list is. This list is from the workshop. These were ideas that someone in the room stated as an idea that the EDC could focus time, energy, and resources towards.
Okay, so
this-
those other projects are not part of this list, is that correct?
They're not necessarily. Now, those are still over there in the file, and we need to be talking about those, but this is the list of things that came out in that workshop with council and all the participants of that day that we're trying to query down into something that we're really going to do anything about, or attempt to do something about. So, does that make sense? What you're saying.
Yeah, I understood that. I just needed to know if
understand
that
what
was
you're
one of
saying.
them.
We just we're going to have to end up trying to work towards getting some new resolutions on what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to figure out how do we take that workshop and turn it into something for real. So, So we're going to take item 1 and 4 and blend them into one, and I think we ought to say, and take the common areas and break it away from the entrances so that we can talk about them separately. So, I mean, common areas is pretty general. So, I think what we need, if we're talking about beautification projects, we need to talk about very specific locations. So that's my opinion. So we'll just talk about the entrance, landscape, and signage. Okay. Then the next item, security cameras at the main city main entrances. That was an item brought by the chief. Any comments on that one? Okay. Quality of life issues. I don't know how to. We can knock that off only because I don't know how to qualify that item. So
I would legally object to that item anyway, because you can't quantify it for the same reason.
Quantify. I'm sitting there to qualify.
Or qualify.
I'm using because I had quality on my mind in the word. The Triangle Park septic restroom and bocce court. So, okay, there was a bocce court talked about at Voigt Park also. So was there a Triangle Park bocce court discussed? Do we want to blend those into all three, or is septic and restroom one potential and Triangle Park bocce another? And are we keeping them?
I don't remember if there were two separate bocce court discussions, but I guess my thought, looking at the list here, we've got several that specifically pertain to Triangle Park. Would it make sense to just aggregate those into one item?
Into Triangle Park capital improvements?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
then potential, and then we'll have a special discussion on Triangle Park.
multiple ideas that we, of
Okay.
improvements at Triangle. That's just, again, to shorten the list, it's 3 pages long. So.
Okay. All right. The dog walking poop supply?
Yeah, I have two comments on that. One is to delete, and another is not in favor of. So,
And I agree with that.
It wasn't my idea, but I have a dog, so I'm all for it. But we'll take that one's off the list. Swap lot across the street from City Hall. I don't know. I mean, is that thoughts on that? So I guess someone proposed that there's a lot over here that the city owns, and there's a lot over here that's privately owned. Is that something that someone wants to approach a property owner, and if so, why?
well, as I recall, it was Councilman Villarreal that made that suggestion.
Yeah.
And now that I sit here, I don't know if he was referring to the lot out this way or the lot diagonally.
Well, if he's saying swap, the city only owns one of the two. So
Which one?
His cousin owns this one here, and we own the one across by Chester's.
and so
Yeah, and I think he mentioned, Mike, that his cousin was going to be developing this lot soon. So if we ever wanted to gain control of this lot, this was the time to do it. I think that's what he said.
And it may be too late because I see some survey markers out there on that lot now. So maybe they have plans to move forward.
He does. He is in the process of replatting that land right now.
Okay. So why don't we scratch it from the
he's
list?
in the process of surveying it, or is he in the process of replatting it?
Just had a survey done, and now he has to do the replat.
Okay. Do you know what he's doing there? What it's being used for? Okay. All right.
Leave that on the list.
I think we take it off the list if something's already happening.
Yeah.
The reimbursed business owners who advertise.
Does that mean in the Spark?
In the Sparks.
I don't know what it means.
It was not clear where they would advertise or which medium or how frequently or to what dollar amount. So I recommended deleting that unless we specifically want to create a project that does some funding of advertising or reimbursement for a specific period of time. This was so open-ended. I would delete it for now.
You know, we have a sign that we've offered to businesses at times, and I mean, we can continue that. So, yeah, I'm with you for deleting that item, just mainly because I don't really know exactly what it means. Utilize wedding SA business to maximize hotel use. Didn't they go to or they were going to take that to council? Did that ever come to council? Okay.
Now, we will have at this next council meeting, the mayor has a representative from, I can't think of the name, the wedding magazine or what have you. His name is Todd Cabes or McCabe.
That's this.
Okay, he'll be coming to he was invited to come to the council meeting for Tuesday, and he is on the council on the agenda for a
Because
presentation.
at the last EDC meeting, this item was discussed, because it was actually going to be an agenda item. We had been asked to make it an agenda item 2 months ago, or a month ago, and we tabled it and said we were going to get through our list and then we would bring them in. When it was time to bring them in, Mayor stepped in and said, no, we're going to just deal with this at council. And he's probably right. I mean, I think what they're looking at doing is trying to privatize some of the utilization of Voight Center.
Yeah, I know he's on the agenda so far
Yeah.
under presentations.
Yeah, but it's really a council level issue. I'm sure everyone here has opinions on it, but it's council level. So we're taking that one off. The allow Valpak business mail out to Hollywood Park residents. Is that, y'all know what that means? I don't even know what a Valpak.
You get a packet in the mail with all kinds of advertising,
Coupons and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, that seems like, that's Valpak's business to do that, and I assume they get paid by each one of those coupon advertisers to circulate it. I don't know how we get in between that to either allow or not allow.
So that's really more of a city council issue as well.
The minutes from that meeting say allow this lady to present a tailored mailer to HP residents promoting our HP businesses. She's a partner in the local Valpak business. Someone Murphy has known for 35 years. Mayor Murphy would like her to present her product at the next EDC meeting. So it seems like the mayor would be running that.
Well, if the mayor wants to bring something, he has the right to bring things to EDC meetings. So he'll be approaching Janice and the legal team to get something on the agenda. So we'll see it if he wants it to come before us. So but for this, at this time, we take it off this list since it's not a project we're dealing with right now.
Okay.
So include the margarita machine rental at Voight Center events. This was this the one that was Murphy's old machine or something like that? Yeah. Thoughts?
I don't have any problem, providing it for anyone who wants to rent it, but I don't think we should need to buy it. Because there was discussion about purchasing it.
Yeah.
Is that correct? I'm not real excited about.
I think it's an enormous conflict of interest to even throw the idea out there myself. But
Agreed. I agree with that.
I don't know if we want to be we
Yeah,
might be the
I think
first
we're-
EDC
yeah.
in the state of Texas to own a margarita machine.
To buy their mayor's margarita machine. Yeah.
Don't want that distinction.
So
either.
we can take it off. Y'all good with that? I agree with that. Okay. The item 14, streets and drainage improvements to enhance commercial use. I think we have to take it off until we find specifics. But if y'all want to talk about specific streets and drainage projects that you think we should support, thoughts?
I think we need specifics, and I think it's somewhat of a council function anyway. So.
Public facilities, construction improvements. think it's too vague to keep on the list. Fire and police department support and equipment enhancement, too vague to keep on the list. We support them on all the time. The business improvements to strengthen sales, too vague to keep on the list.
I think so. Agreed.
Business activities to increase revenues. What we're looking for is specific projects that we can target. So does anyone have a thought on that item? Too vague?
Too vague.
Employee job training and creation of jobs. We don't want to do a job training program in Hollywood Park.
I don't think we'll be doing job training.
All right. Incentive loans and grants to encourage business expansions.
I don't even know if we're authorized to do that.
There's a way to do it. There's a way to do it.
But I think we do it on a request basis, not go out to the businesses and say we have a loan program or offer a loan program to businesses.
You can do it basically one of two ways. You can do it individually on a request basis, or you create like a fund, and people can file an application for it, and that's all it is. And when the fund's gone for that fiscal year. But that becomes the project. But you need someone that can help manage the applications when they come in and stuff like that. It does add some administrative costs to the project.
Okay, is that something that y'all want to keep on the list?
I don't.
Okay, all it takes is one no. Pursue quality tenants at Galleria Oaks.
Is that our responsibility?
I don't think so.
It can't be our responsibility.
Yeah.
We can incentivize the process.
Yeah,
Circumstances.
if the brokerage team brings something like they did with Starbucks, we can respond. But okay, support the HPCA events, 4th of July, Halloween National Night Out. I think that item's we've already supported them as much as they're willing to let us support them, given there's a bit of an arm's length issue, and the lawyers have all worked with them through that. So I think we've kind of done the things we can do for now, and we'll see how it plays and do more in the future if we can get the legal team to figure out how to do that. So, but I think they are an integral part of what we're really doing, what we're commissioned to do.
Mr. President, and I know you walked in, we may not have had time, but we did provide a legal memo that I sent on your desk, or on your chairs.
That's this, okay.
Yes, sir. In relation to that support and
Okay.
what options you may or may not have
We
if
have
you want to pursue.
we have a community projects item on the agenda. That
Yes, sir, you do.
We'll incorporate that into that discussion if we can.
All righty.
Okay. The upgrade the water supply at Triangle Park. Is there? I've never heard that until that meeting. So.
Does that mean drinking water or the sprinkler system?
Kelly, do you know anything about it?
No idea what they're
Well, if the Public Works Director
Irrigation
doesn't
system
know
works
about it,
good
we
and
need to
drinking
know.
water works
Well,
good.
I can comment on that. The drinking fountain is very weak, almost sometimes just dribbling out of the spigot. And I'm a runner, so that's one of my water stops. And I'd love for it to just splash me all over the face, but it's very weak stream.
I'll take care of that.
And also, last winter especially, it was slow to drain.
Well, that's caused because the kids pick up the gravel
Yeah.
and put the gravel in the drain. And about once every 3 or 4 months, I have to go in there and tear it completely apart and clean the drains out. Unfortunately, I don't know how to stop that besides having an armed guard.
Cameras.
Or use water soluble mulch, whatever.
As far as the pressure, if we got a pressure problem, I can take care of that.
Okay.
Okay, so we can take this off of our list. Kelly's already taken care of it. Upgrade electrical plugs at Triangle Park. Is there any thoughts or discussion on that item?
Once again, I don't think the electrical plugs need to be upgraded. There've been a couple of them they wear out, they're GFIs, so the GFIs wear out on them,
Yeah.
and we replace them as they go along. I think what they were talking about was the lighting at like Triangle Park. There is very, very little lighting. And someone had mentioned something about getting better lighting down there.
Okay, let's do this. We have a Triangle Park project. Let's review lighting as part of Triangle Park project.
I'm gonna guess 23 and 24 is probably high, just because they have events down there.
Well, oh, you think, okay. Probably, you're probably right. It's someone who does a lot of events.
Yeah, I think she wanted more plugs for the movie nights or some other events.
Okay,
When we put more lighting down there, we'll have more plugs, because we can put plugs on each pole we put out.
can you just kind of make an item to touch base with the homeowners group and see what they need electrically, and see if you can
Yeah, I'll
formulate
reach out
that.
to Holly and see
Just see if you can formulate it into a specific request item.
if she can give me some idea what she
Yeah.
was talking about.
Improve the acoustics at Voight Center, we're already in discussion on that item. The isolate fans and lights, we've already done that. The security cameras with license plate readers at the entrances, that's kind of up there on number five.
Yeah.
So we can take that off. The cellular service for cameras, that's really in the same, so we'll just take that off because it's up there. The DVR system for security cameras, it's in the same. It's really we'll call it security camera system. Just add system to item number 5, and that'll cover everything. The install covert cameras in interview rooms. Was that part of a package that came forward?
That was kind of a,
No, but has that come to us before?
well, so the DVR system that Chief wants for the traffic cameras is big enough to support cameras inside the police department also.
That's a residual of the system we.
So
would-
what
we
he
would
wanted to do is, once we've got this set up, then we can add this at y'all's convenience. When y'all want to support that, then he was gonna bring that. So that was another idea. Some of Chief's ideas, or some of the ideas on here are for 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to keep that on here for now, or
Well,
let Chief bring it forward at a later time.
you could keep it. I mean, I rated it as low priority,
Okay.
so if nothing ever happens,
Okay.
it doesn't hurt, but if he wants to come back.
Okay. Create an impound lot at the city land to generate revenue. Where is that being proposed? Is there a plan on that?
That was another idea from the police chief, and then at our last meeting, I believe, or the previous meeting recently, someone said that a change in the way the state allows impound lots to be established may prevent us from doing that.
We're no longer allowed to do that.
Okay.
Not the way the chief was envisioning.
Okay.
Okay. The new bunker gear for the firemen. Didn't we already do that? Didn't we do a bunker gear project?
I don't think we did that yet.
I think Chief Patrica was,
He brought it to a meeting, but it didn't get.
no, I think he was gonna bring it, and then there was some kind of mix-up, and he couldn't make it to that meeting to go over it.
Okay.
We'll
We'll leave it on there. Janice, would you double check minutes and just confirm if we've done bumper gear before? I thought we had done it for some reason, but I know he talked about it at one time, but maybe. Okay, new radios to sync with radio system. I guess we'll leave it on there until we learn more about it.
Well, also you could note, I mean, it's a couple of years out, 2020 or 2021.
Okay.
You know, low priority for now.
The purchase a street crack fill machine. Is that an item that's in the EDC?
Only for use for the commercial project support. You can't just use it to fix the residential streets. So you would have a limitation on when you could use it and how you could use it.
Okay. So do we take it off or we keep it?
I say take it on.
the purchase portable skylift for high projects at Voight Park. Can we do that? Can we buy equipment?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
Supporting Voight Park with that kind of machinery would fall clearly within what your purview is.
Thoughts?
Well, so you've got the high ceiling at Voight Park. I don't have any ladders or equipment to be able to reach up there if there's anything needs to be done. All the lighting at Voight Park, all the security cameras, I don't have any way to be able to maintain any of this. So that's why I brought it up, was it would be a nice piece of equipment if I've got to change lights. We have a camera that's acting up. We've got to do lights at Voight Park, or I have an AC problem or whatever. I've got a piece of equipment that I can utilize instead of having to go rent a piece of equipment to do.
What exactly is this piece of equipment?
Excuse me?
Scissor lift?
Is it
It's
that
either-
motorized
yeah,
one?
well,
with the-
you can either go with a skylift, which is basically a four-wheel crane or a four-wheel boom, or a scissor lift. Either one works, and either one can do what we need to do. I think the scissor lift is probably a little bit more feasible.
Is it
They're all-
mainly, it's mainly interior applications you're referring to?
Excuse me?
It's mainly interior issues that you're dealing with?
No, it'd be both. It would be lighting all over the park. It'd be cameras all over the park. Say the solar panels were acting up, and then it gives us access to be able to get up on the roof. You got just so many uses. I mean, it would be strictly, almost like exclusively for Voight Park.
What I would say-
Triangle, then for Triangle also, but
What I'd say, if this is an important item to you that you can price justify, and you've got the rentals and you're doing enough rental that to where you can make it make sense,
okay.
then get with the mayor and say, I got this thing, I'm spending this much money, I can save this money if we had this piece of equipment, and just run a thing, and then the mayor will bring it in and see if it's something everybody wants to support. So I just like all the police equipment that comes through here. So I think it's just an item that needs to get price justified. I think these other items, they've actually brought something in, like most of these items, they've brought a package in the past, and so that's why they're on the list. So let's just wait to see if you bring something in. Is that all right? Sure. Yeah. The community gardens and via Central Park and Ride location, that's really two different, probably ought to be two different items for discussion. So do we want to support a community garden, or can we support a community garden?
There is a way you can support a community garden, yes, sir.
If we do enough business marketing and stuff within the garden, or
Yes.
business interface within the garden, okay. Is that something, a community garden, something that we want to have as a possibility within this support?
Is a community garden where we each get a little spot of land and we grow tomatoes? Is that what you mean, a
Right.
community garden?
Mr. President, having a medical issue here, if I leave, we will still have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Blood
Okay.
sugar's crashing,
Understand.
and,
Do what you need to do.
okay, thank you.
I hope it's not the monotone voice in the list, but go ahead.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead and do what you need to do. We understand.
Thank you.
Thanks for raising the flag. Hope you're feeling better. All right, so, community gardens, is that something you're gonna keep on?
Yeah, didn't you have some good input, a favorable input?
I've got a lot
on
of
that?
information on community gardens. I think it'd be great to have one in Hollywood Park, just because I think it'd be a big pull, it'd pull a lot of people together, so. But I'm not willing to invest the time and energy to push it right now, so. But I think there's a season when that could be a pretty neat thing to have in this area, so.
Well, I'm in favor of keeping it. Do you want to keep it by itself or also with the
Yeah.
VIA?
Yeah, the VIA thing
Okay.
was something, because it was talked about over on this lot. If we did a garden on that lot, we could do a pavilion And then the pavilion could be a VIA stopping spot, and we could bring VIA back into the neighborhood and pull revenues from VIA. And they would, but they wouldn't. They didn't want VIA running the streets of Hollywood Park. So, but if they just came in and did a turnaround at a pavilion, now we're back to having VIA service in Hollywood Park, at least for big events or something. So that may be something that.
Mr. President, can I make a comment on that? Because I was with the mayor when we met with VIA, and he asked them if they would do something like that from the access road, and the answer was no. The only way you'll get VIA to be able to have anything stopped that's in Hollywood Park, unless it's in the city of San Antonio over there, is if you give up part of your sales tax. And he talked about it, and at that point in time, he didn't like the idea of some part of the city would have to give up sales tax in order to bring VIA in. And VIA said that's the only way they would do it. He even talked to him about the ones that would come on those small vans, that are running like this for that. And they said, no, give up part of your sales tax, and we'll come in. Just so y'all know that. Okay.
So it's a buy service. It's a purchase service. Yeah.
Hollywood Park had the tax at one point in time and voted to undo the tax to stop VIA from coming in. So, they're technically a state-created or state-authorized type of entity, but it's tied to the ability to get their sales tax.
It was explained reverse of that to me. It was explained that we lost revenue when they left the neighborhood. So that's or left the community. So okay. So we're dropping the VIA piece. We'll keep the community garden for now. The solar panels to heat pool, we've already done that. Install resort grade furniture and equipment at Voigt Park and Pool. Thoughts? Really, that was just a list of things at Voigt Park that we could spend money on as we just possible upgrades down there. So it's just a list of possible upgrades. So it probably is more appropriate if we can get the pavilion integrated. If the pavilion immediately, and can talk about that in a minute. So, or when we talk about that, we'll go back and talk about all of these items. The City Hall facelift and metal roof. Okay, I'm going to leave it up to y'all to say no or delete if you want. I'll just go through them a little quicker.
Is that the same as number 3 on the list, which was City Hall infrastructure improvements, fire department, police, land, building?
Yeah, what we can do is we can actually add the detail of that, the facelift and metal roof, to the list as things on City Hall capital improvements, and just start a running list of things like we're doing at Voigt Park. So yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks. Develop plan for land use west of Chester's site. So that's that lot over there. I mean, I think that's something that we probably ought to keep on the list. If anyone has any thoughts or ideas on how that land might best be utilized, is it something that we could get behind and rally community support for? So, dog watering stations, poop bag dispensers, and waste receptacles.
I had delete on that, both for myself and on Tom Sim's list. Delete.
All right. The host a custom mailbox competition. That was actually something I had on an old list. We can delete it, but the idea I had on that was just to get with one of the university design groups and do like a competition and do like a 3 or 4 mailbox design, like some kind of tricked up mailbox design, and then underwrite some prototypes and find a vendor to just. I've got the worst mailbox in the city, and so I was going to get a new mailbox, and that's why I threw it on.
That's the one way to do it.
Yeah. Instead of buying the plastic ones at Home Depot, to actually develop a custom mailbox program for the city that has cool signs, and that's something y'all would like to see happen or not. So we can. I'll be the one to take it off, because I'd probably have to be the one driving it if we did it. Organize discounted golf cart purchase. That was something that we had on the list as it related to a golf tournament. I guess we could do that again if we want to let one of the golf cart suppliers be a sponsor for our tournament, but that's really tournament specific. I don't think we need to keep it on our list.
If y'all ever do anything like that, it would be nice if y'all take permission, because they're at National Night Out and they serve food that they brought. They grill sausage on the stick or
Do they?
something, and so.
Well, why don't you just mention that one to Holly if you talk to her, because it's really her sponsorship package for the golf tournament. She's sent out to sponsors, and that would be a sponsor request from them. Do they want to offer a discount program at that and to promote their group?
Well, I did go and I bought my golf cart from them. I told them that I appreciate them coming and they would give me a discount.
Yeah, and I had put it on there originally because they're friends of friends, and we actually service a cart through them as well. So they're kind of the go-to golf cart group in this area. That's for sure. Review path connectivity, pedestrian, bike, and golf cart access. That was one of my thoughts or ideas. I'd like to keep it on there. We can talk about it further, but unless someone's opposed.
So what are you wanting to connect?
Well, we can't really, as a city, and we at one time there was a whole hike and bike trail system proposed through the whole park, and we really didn't have the funds to do $1 million hike and bike trail system. Like trails everywhere. But my thought was, do we look at some key crossings? And I walk a lot, and I'm always walking the creek bottoms with my dog and stuff. And so if you go like where I live on a cul-de-sac, and there's a cul-de-sac behind me, we could do just a link between those, that you could have a path and a cart, and it would get some of the cars off of Donella. So it would be a walk path between. There's another one over on Yosemite that goes over, and I don't know the name of that street over there, but it's a real short link that would just go from this street to that street. And so now there's a path. If you're out walking the street, you could cut across and get on another street. Well, I walk the creek bottom, so it's probably, to me, it doesn't matter so much, but I don't drive a golf cart on it. So it'd be nice to be able to ride a bike or drive a golf cart across from one street to the next.
I had always wished that we would do a connect path to the enclave, but they said no.
Yeah, they weren't very excited about that, and we really want to do that because we wanted to get to Starbucks when they came in. So.
Well, I would think they would have liked it, but they don't have that many young families there, where they wouldn't have to go out 281 to come to the pool and everything.
Well, they have a gate. They have a gate to come our way, but we don't have a gate to go their way.
Okay.
And so, I was lobbying to them to get a gate to go their way, so we could actually cart through and get into Galleria Oaks by golf cart, because I think it helped Galleria Oaks in general, not just Starbucks, but they could bring a lot of restaurants and stuff.
I think a lot of people would
But
drive their golf cart and eat there.
they weren't open to the idea. In fact, they were upset that I brought it up in a public forum without talking to them first, and I brought it up that we might go talk to them. What do you think about going and talk to them? That's how I brought it up. But it was like it came out in the paper like I had proposed that we force this on them or something. I don't know what it was. Really a nasty deal, but that's that. So anyway, are you all okay keeping that connectivity for further discussion? Review Rialto Studio plan for Greenbelt Trail System. I mean, we ought to do that. We can link those two. Just change 44 to say and make that one item. The staff Hollywood Park, the park PR and program director position. That was one of a lot of these are the things I brought to the meeting. I don't know that we can pay a staff position. Is that correct? Can we fund a staff position?
You can only fund a employee position from being employee of the EDC. And so then you have to kind of take on the employee issues that you get for having an employee of the EDC. There is a way to do it so that you create a position and you fill it with like a temporary help type of thing, which you can do by partially funding something from, another position with the city, but that acts more like a position that's supported by grant funds. It can be changed, and if one side or the other doesn't, can't keep up with the funding, then the whole position goes away.
So I'll describe what I was thinking on that, and you all tell me if this is worth pursuing. Is the EDC or the homeowners group? They do major projects, but what I'm describing in that is someone who's just constantly loading the calendar with activities that pulls different groups of our community together. Like they develop a card game, they do this. And my parents lived in a senior village thing up in Arkansas, and they just had newspapers full of this stuff that they were gone all the time doing all these activities and all these different things. And so our homeowners is doing some of that, but if we had a staff position that's their job, then that might get more utilization. We get good utilization, but that might even increase the utilization of the nice facilities that we have, and even catalyze more facilities. So that was the thought there.
So on that one, would EDC pay for the employee and pay for supplies or food or whatever the event was?
It was just a way to, yes. I mean, I think that's what it would be. That's what EDC would be considering. Is it worth supporting a position to kind of create supercharge activity within this community? To try to say, there's more things going on. There's someone who's always hyping up the activities of the community. The homeowners is already doing a pretty darn good job of that on these major, 6 or 7 major things that they do, but it's all volunteers. I'm talking about if someone was full-time and that's what they were doing was just programming, and programming and, quote, kind of almost managing the facility. Do they become the manager of that facility? And then Public Works focuses management on Public Works and not on the facility. So is it really a Voight Center group that's programming that place down there? So that's a thought.
Well, it's worth pursuing, and if you could drive more business to the Voight Center for rentals.
And they would be someone who could go talk to the businesses and
Yeah.
be engaging all of our business. I mean, we all need to talk to business, but we're all running our businesses, so this is almost an employee for us that's, you can say, have you talked to these, so it's kind of, I don't know, that's a thought. So you want to keep it and talk about it more?
Sure. What priority level would you assign to that? Because I put TBD on there. I didn't know.
Medium.
Okay.
Okay. Support Sonterra path improvement, clean, we already did that. Voight Park roadway improvements, El Portal sidewalk. I'd like to keep that on there for discussion.
I agree.
Voight Park fence and gate concept plan. I think it still needs more discussion. So I'd like to keep it on there, but is anyone opposed to keeping it on there? Okay. The stone bench and bocce ball, I'd like to keep it on there, but
Isn't that on?
Didn't you have that on the memorial?
there was one at the Memorial Park. I have an idea for a bocce court right next to the pavilion down by the pool on the fence line. It's unused land, and I can show you images of a bocce out at a ranch that we were at recently that's all stone bench. It's really cool, and it was just the whole group spent the whole time at this bocce court. It was really fun because it's a real engaging activity, and all the little kids and old people. And what's that?
You want to make both?
No, I think we just need one, but I would do it down where all the activities going on at Voight Center, where you have shade and you have a place to sit there and watch, and
I agree.
while people are cooking, it gives them.
You want us to scratch off the basketball court?
Yes, on the Triangle Park, we can take it off of there. Yeah. repurpose the old stone sign at Voigt Park. What that was is when we were looking at the signage, we can knock that off really. But when we were looking at the signage projects at the gates, we were going to end up with stone signs coming down, and some of those were signs that Trillian had made, and so we were going to basically pull the stone off and use it in the bocce construction. So that's what that was about. Install large shade and picnic pavilions. I would keep it on there just because we have a plan that shows a bunch of extra shade structures around Voigt Park. That if the funds are there, but we can keep it as a low priority, that's fine. Add exterior fitness. I think we need to isolate, if we're going to do dog watering, we need to isolate dog watering or dog facilities from fitness facilities. So I would do add exterior fitness equipment at parks. Thoughts on that? Keep it as a possible.
I think so.
The medium, low, high.
I would probably say medium.
Yeah.
If y'all, ever think about doing that fitness thing, you need to look into Converse. They're doing an $80,000 park for fitness. It will hold 28 people.
Yeah.
Different stations.
I tell you what, we
Park.
were in China and they had those things all over the place, and it was unbelievable. They were packed
Oh, wow.
with people on these, and they were all dynamic equipment, but they were full of people all the time. And so, and it's like going to the gym, but you're doing it outside, and there's a shower that you just spray off when you get done, and no gym membership, So anyway, they're pretty neat when you do it right. So so do we want to isolate then to add dog watering at all parks? We probably ought to have dog watering. I mean, you can't even
You have dog watering already at Triangle.
You do?
Yeah, there's dog watering stations at Memorial.
Where?
On each water fountain, that little dish down on the bottom, that's a dog watering station. On all the watering fountains. You didn't know that?
I have my dog up on the drinking fountain. I need
That's
to
what
come
that
down.
little dish down on the bottom is for. It's actually a button you push and it puts water down there.
God, just kidding about the dog. So, yeah, we'll.
But I would like to, I think putting a couple of those down at,
Yeah.
Voigt would be a great idea.
Yeah.
About a little plaque that says, this
you're
is for the
saying-
dogs.
You're saying you have them at the parks, but you don't have them down at Voigt.
We've got them at Memorial, but we don't have any at Voigt.
Well, that's the place I'm telling you I had my dog, because I go over to the hose pit.
Take them over
at
and
the-
let them drink out of the pool.
Yeah, well, the pool's gates are closed. We gotta talk about that too.
Yeah, separate subject.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, I'd like to keep the dog watering out there just because, number one, my wife wants it on the list. So. The Voigt Park porch improvements, big screen TVs, larger fan. We got larger fans already covered. The credenza with stool height seating. Yeah. Thoughts on that? You want to turn it into a gathering spot, or just leave it as a patio, as it just simple patio?
The Voigt Park porch, is that what y'all are calling the back deck of the center?
Well, this item really is referring to either the pool pavilion or the Voigt Park porch. Yeah, the Voigt Park porch, you have a kitchen right there, and if you turned it into a kind of a hangout to watch golf tournaments and if there's a place to hang, if you could get in and use the kitchen all the time, and
Problem with that is when the pavilion's rented, which is just about every weekend, 2 or 3 times every weekend,
yeah,
that's part of the rental,
yeah,
is the deck area
right. No, I understand.
and the kitchen. So that would eliminate.
I know, but you
being
just
able to
come
use
up and it says private party and you can't use it then, but the other times it's not rented, can it be public access? I'm trying to figure out how to get our facilities public access. It's not an EDC specific item, but I believe we have facilities that we can't use, and, I would like to go down this evening and walk in Voigt Center, and go in the kitchen and get a cup of ice and hang out with friends down there, but I can't do that because the building's locked up all the time.
I'll be honest with you, Mike, if that came to the council, I would vote no. that we rent.
Mhm.
And, if I rented it for my 70th birthday party, and I've got a bunch of bummers out there watching the game.
If you just put the private event out front, then you solve that. I'm not saying do it in lieu of. I'm saying when it's sitting there empty, which is not, a lot of the time, it's not, you can't use it. I go down there and I walk around and all these, it's all locked up. The gates are locked for the pool, the voids. We have all these great facilities, but you can't use them. So
Bill?
I think I just need to go.
Speaking from a maintenance standpoint, if you used it, that would be great.
Yeah,
You're a responsible adult.
I know.
But I wouldn't want some 6-year-old kid going in there, sticking their hands in the ice machine and grab a handful of ice. And then someone come in right behind them and getting ice out of the ice machine. That'd be pretty nasty, and there's no way I can control that. Also, if you open that up to the public, it becomes a maintenance nightmare. Maintenance costs tripled at least.
Well, I spent a lot of time in hotels, and those ice machines, I get our little thing, a bucket of ice every night, and every kid in the place.
But there's a difference in
has
those ice
access.
machines, is those they're produce the ice as you need it, and it's not just an ice bin.
Then maybe that's what I'm looking
You know,
for.
we might need to change something like that, and then we could do something like that out in the park. I'd be all for that.
Well, but the other thing that's an issue is when you're down there a lot, if you look, those kids playing basketball down there are not Highwood Park residents. And if that Voight Center is open, they can easily go in the Voight Center. And I'm not saying just because they don't live in Highwood Park, they're bad people. I'm just saying it's not a closed community.
Right.
When you open it up for, anything could happen if a young woman goes in that bathroom and that's their open center and nobody else is in there, somebody could fall on her. There's just a lot of different things you have to really consider with it.
Okay. All right. So where are we? So the Voight, so we're gonna take 54 off?
I don't think so. I thought we were gonna just leave it.
Just leave it, okay, and talk about it more, all right? All right, bridge enhancement and greenway crossing, railing and landscape. That was really the Voight, or the Donella Road Bridge, there's the bridge there. And what, the thought there was, if you look at Greenway Parks Dallas or Highland Park Dallas, or some nicer communities that are older, seasoned communities, they've taken their crossings and stoned them up and turned them into architectural and made them really nice.
Where are you talking about?
Just any bridge crossing, like the Donella Street Bridge crossing. You have a limestone bottom there, but you have this bridge rail that's kind of falling apart. It's not even painted,
look
you know.
nice.
And so would that be an opportunity to add stone and make it really nice to where when people, with lighting, and make it where when people came into the park, it's like, wow, this is a nice community. It's just a way of lipstick in our community that we have. So that was a thought there.
That's good. That's a good idea.
I mean, it's still a floodway. It's vulnerable, and you got to watch out how much money you spend on it. But they do it in other cities, and is that something worth pursuing? And would that change and I'm not saying make it super, super fancy. I'm just saying it can be nicer than what we've got.
Dress it up a little bit.
Yeah, and landscape the edges and do some. So, just a thought. So we're keeping that on there. Install shade canopies to cover Voight Park tennis courts. That was part of the, I've got a shade canopy up there, a general shade canopy, but the idea on that was to grow the courts out and put shade within the tennis court area, grow the fence out on the north side. And it's just for tennis players where they can leave on the court, walk over and sit in the shade. So there's a bigger sitting area on the court, like you would see at a country club.
Remove the fence around the tennis court? I didn't understand you.
All you do is push the fence out.
Oh, okay.
Towards the
Move it
parking
back,
lot.
make it bigger.
Towards the parking lot, enough to create a seating area in shade with two of the shade structures, so that the players can go and sit around and talk, and they have shade on the court, like you would see it at a country club.
Okay.
So it's not a big item. It's just something. I'm trying to think of down at Voight Park. You have all these amenities. What can you do to improve it for each of the party groups, each of the activity groups that are down there? the moms want shade at the kids' play area. The people I've talked to, everybody's got a wish list item, and that's one of the ones that I wish we had shade at tennis. Well, I thought of it. What's a way to do that? And that's it. I had an idea on that plan that I issued. So that's an item I'd keep on there for discussion. The same thing at the basketball courts. All these people play basketball, but there's no shade structures near the basketball. You go down over by the park and you can find shade, but there's a way of doing shade right on the court, over on where the bleachers. You could actually put bleachers in shade, and people could sit there and watch their kids play or something, and you could have shade there too. But we can keep it all low priority. Or do you want to prioritize all these?
I was putting low.
Low?
Yeah, I was changing the TBD to low as you keep each one, but if you have some uncertainty,
Okay.
it can just stay low until we address each one.
Okay.
Then what we are gonna do on number 55, is that low or medium or?
Low.
So the chain fencing at Voigt Park, that's just it was up above, I thought, already. I just think we need to continue that discussion. The Voigt pool. Oh, you know what I think that is? That's the
Number 49. Voigt Pool
49
fence.
is the point, the Voigt Park fence and gate concept.
Uh-huh.
I think 49 is the gateway concept. It'd be gateway. That's right as you enter the park.
Oh.
There's no landscape, and there's a big wooden fence that you can't even see the sign when you approach it
Right.
on the neighboring property. And I would see if we can't eliminate the fence back to the front of that person's house, to where when you come down, you're looking into the park from further up the street. So that was what that was, and then add landscaping all in that area up to the sign.
And then 58, is that the one where you wanted to move it out towards some terabyte land from them at the golf course?
No. That 58 was talking about trying to get the pool pavilion into the pool area. But that really relates to more discussion on pool hours. So has the pool hour thing been finalized at council? What was the outcome on that?
They stayed the same except for Friday and Saturday. I think it's 9 to 9.
He's talking about doing like a adult swim type time.
Yeah, where it was going to try to maybe.
That hasn't been, that's still, they're still doing a lot of research on the liability issues and stuff like that.
Okay, who's working on that?
I believe the mayor.
Okay, so we'll just leave it on there for discussion. Because I think that's, I think it would be great to have the pool more accessible, at least for adults. To swim at your own risk type arrangement, if we can get the insurance. The preliminary discussion we had with the insurance group is it could be done, but there's some other issues there. The shaded play, Mike Howe was working on that some, and I think he had kind of a positive feedback to the shaded play area for kids. That for children, that was one that someone raised. So.
Are you talking about at the very front of where you go in towards the pool, where we have the little equipment they play on?
I think it was a mom, and she says the kid play areas need more. So it's probably, if we were to keep that on there, we'd need to throw it out there and have a discussion and see if there's enough support to make it an agenda item, and then let people come in and talk about it. I don't know where it is. Yeah. So are we keeping it on there, or we want to wait and let someone bring it?
I say take it off.
Okay. Install Wi-Fi at the Voigt Park. There's some pros or cons on that. To have
Excuse me?
Wi-Fi down at Voigt Park.
I didn't
Do
hear
you have Wi-Fi at Voigt Park?
No, we do not.
Okay. Is it
We've got Wi-Fi only at the Voight Center.
okay? But that's what oh, you just have it at Voight Center,
Correct.
at the building, Voight Center building itself?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that set up, Kelly, where you have to use a code to get the Wi-Fi?
Well, I mean, there's multiple ways of doing it, my understanding.
I mean, if I was sitting out on the back patio, could I just log into it and
You-
have Wi-Fi?
And you could set it up where you have a secure site and a visitor site. I mean, you go to a doctor's office or you go to a hotel, they've got secure and they got unsecure. And
So right now, is it secure?
right now, the one at the Voice Center is secure. You have to have a code to get into it.
Okay.
But you could do it both ways. You can have both of them at the same time. It's pretty simple and easy to do. Just it's getting the hardware and the antennas and everything out throughout the park, so it's got.
Have you
coverage.
gotten anyone, has anyone asked you for any kind of Wi-Fi down in that area before?
No.
Can y'all see any reason to have that?
I go down there at lunchtime, probably 3-4 days a week, and there's businessmen all over the park sitting in the shade, enjoying the park, and they ain't a single one ever said anything about having Wi-Fi. I don't think it's a bad idea. Modern technology, world's going to where it's going.
Do you need it for any security related issues, or do you need it for anything that the city, that it benefits the city?
Well, I mean, y'all already approved the cameras, so we already added the new cameras in there. A couple of them are on a wireless connection, but that's dedicated strictly to the cameras. I think if you put Wi-Fi throughout the park, I think it's going to get utilized. I mean, everybody's going to utilize it.
Is there much cost to do it?
I don't have any idea what it costs would be. I don't, everything's determined by bandwidth. How much bandwidth are we going to put out there? The more it's used, the more it costs, type of deal.
The reason I even put it on the list was if we were going to have some kind of kiosk for our businesses to where you could order up walk-ons, or you could order up Doghouse, or if you're at the pool, you can order a hot dog. That was the reason I had it, so we could actually have an order up kiosk down there. So, but if people really want to have access to have better capability out of their devices down in that area, I mean, that's something else too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's something to look into. I have no idea what the cost would be. I have no idea what infrastructure is going to be necessary. Do we want to cover the entire park area? Do we want to cover the pavilion areas? These are things that y'all have to decide.
Okay, well, you want to take it off for now, and unless, that says a high. That's a high priority. So you think it's a high priority?
I thought the suggested sounded as if it were an important feature, and maybe I misunderstood, because you said we have it inside the Voight Center.
We have it at the Voight Center, inside the Voight Center.
Yeah.
The Voight Center is the building, is the Civic Center that we rent out.
Yep.
That's the Voight Center.
And I think I assumed when I did this that we didn't have it even on the interior.
I have a feeling if you said we now have Wi-Fi at Voight Park, that everyone would be, that there's a lot of people that would be excited about that.
Oh, I have no doubt. Everybody would use it, especially all the kids.
If you build it, they will come.
That is a
The
fact.
key is it something that it's
I think it's
for us?
something y'all have to research on what the cost is, and it's going to be.
Yeah, it's
like
worth
you said before,
researching.
The cost analysis, is it worth the investment that y'all would have to put into it?
But is it the community that we're trying to create or support here? Is that something that, what about citizen comments? You have any thoughts on that?
I have a hotspot that I pay for, it's just part of my business expenses, so
Yeah.
for me, it would be useful.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody's phone or whatever, you can get on the internet or anything without the Wi-Fi.
Right.
So I mean, you're using your own data, I realize that, but,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
most people that want to use it, they've got it on their phone.
They just do their own phone.
I think the main reason we put it over in the Civic Center is when we do corporate stuff and they have streaming and downloading they have to do, then it's really be advantageous. It's also, I have to have it over there to be able to use the cameras because they transmit out to all the different departments, and the door access is all through the Wi-Fi also.
Well, why don't we drop that item? I think we're almost through our list here, and we need to get on to a few more items to get this meeting. So, install grills behind Voight Center kitchen. We have okay.
I had a delete on that.
Delete, okay.
I didn't hear what y'all were doing with that.
No, what, no.
Scratch it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Add security cameras throughout Voight Park.
that's already been done. It's almost finished now.
Use of Voight Library, Voight Park, or Voight Center Library, and add window blinds as storage area. So we're keeping it as a storage area? Is that what that room's being, continue to be a storage room?
Well, kind of, sort of, but not really. I mean, I want to get it back to being a library. We're just trying to work out some other kind of storage.
I think the window blind is nice because
But
when
the-
Kelly has tables and stuff stacked in there, when you walk by, you can see it.
Let me ask this, is it ever used for anything but storage?
Yeah, it's used as a library.
Oh, people use it as a library?
Yeah, they've done that. I've had numerous people, when they rent the facility,
Uh-huh.
they use that room for other things.
Oh, it's part of the use of the room?
Yeah, those,
yeah.
I've had them use it for a photo booth. I've had brides
Yeah.
use it as their dressing room. I've had families use it as a cry room when there's little
Yeah,
kids.
so it gets used.
So it's used.
Okay. So you got the blinds already done though, right?
Well, they haven't been done yet. That was part of the, I think, the audio package. That was part of that.
Okay. Okay. So we can kind of scratch it since it's already in motion. Is that okay?
I think so.
Yeah. Donate dollars towards annual budget. We can't do that. The consider access to the 6-acre site for outdoor events.
And I have some questions on that one.
Okay.
If you buy the land from Sunterra, this is the way I've understood it, whether it's right or not, I don't know.
Okay.
You will have San Antonio land and Hollywood Park land.
Right.
It's just you will, so now you're paying taxes for San Antonio. I don't know if Kelly's group can go in there and do anything because he's Hollywood Park. It seems like there's a lot of,
It crosses the city line, that's for sure. We could either, first of all, we'd have to convince Sonterra to sell us the land. If it's, I still believe there's, and I've looked at it very closely, that there's that 0.6 acres. It's the size of Triangle Park, piece of land behind the Voight Center that is still 100 feet from the golf course in every direction. That's where the 0.6 acres came from. There's just a piece of landlocked, unutilized land that no one's getting any benefit out of. If we could develop a park, a big park there, then with an engaged community center, then if you had an event there, you would have this huge lawn out there behind it with a bluff view off the back. I mean, if you really cleared it way out there to the extent of this property, it's pretty amazing property back there because it's high land. It's got a bluff off the back. You could drive all the fencing out beyond the edge. And so, is it something worth pursuing? I mean, yes, there would be hurdles to clear. If you rented a property, you would probably rent Voight Center and not rent the park. Just say you can use the park, but we're not going to rent it to you, and get all your revenues on the Hollywood Park side of the property extents.
who would pay the taxes, EDC or Hollywood Park?
Well, I don't know that there would be a ton of tax tied to it because it's just parkland.
Well, the EDC, if the EDC owns it, you're tax exempt. So there wouldn't be any ad valorem taxes that would go to San Antonio.
Yeah. I mean, I think we just have to work between the attorneys, the city attorney, and to determine the best way to structure it. But I believe it would be a great asset to the city to have park property behind that $7 million complex down there. It would require more lawn mowing. It would require more maintenance. It would have cost associated with it. But our city would, but our revenues for Voight Center would go up. You would charge more to rent Voight Center. Because you get a free park behind it. So you could double your rental prices because then now you can have a wedding. You can not only the reception, you get to have the big wedding. So that's not why I would do it, is for wedding. I'd rather do the Easter egg hunt out there, but it's, I don't know. It was just an idea. I think I saw a great piece of property that wasn't being used that's right next to us. So.
If it's something you want to keep talking about, Tom Sims actually thought the priority should be medium rather than low
Okay.
on his comments. So
Yeah, I agree with that.
I would agree.
But we have a huge hurdle to clear because we have an owner that hasn't really said that they're willing to sell it. So, but they are keeping the discussion open. So that's like, so you say there's a chance. So, okay. So thank you all for going through that. I'm sorry for it kind of got strung out there. So the next item is to update and discuss the 2019 Hollywood Park Community Association Golf Tournament Project and the Hollywood Park EDC and Hollywood Park Community Association National Night Out Project, including the Hollywood Park EDC board member as a liaison for each project. Holly had asked that on these projects that we're supporting them on, can we assign a liaison to kind of be the interface for EDC for those projects. So I was hoping that we'd talk Julie into doing the golf tournament because she's a Sonterra member and she plays a lot of golf. But I can't sign her up because she's not here. And then is anyone interested in being does anyone attend and involved in the National Night Out?
I've attended.
Uh-huh.
So I'll do it.
Okay. Great, thank you. Does anyone here want to take on the golf tournament in Julie's absence?
I think you should ask her first.
ask her.
Yeah.
She did a great
Okay.
job.
Okay. Okay, I'll send her a note on hopefully my new email that we're going to be talking about. All right, thank you for doing that, Scott. Update and I'll let Holly know and put you in touch with her. So, do you have Holly's information?
I don't think so.
Okay. Update and discuss potential Voice Center audio acoustics and technology improvements project. On this item, we basically left it that I was going to go talk to the previous architect and some of the previous project team and try to understand did the sound and was there a technology was there a consultant involved and was the San Antonio Sound involved in the design of the existing systems. And I did talk to Gabe Duran, the architect, and he said that there was a lot of discussion about acoustics, but there was not a consultant involved on it, that they didn't. San Antonio Sound was involved in the project, but they were not involved as a design consultant, so they didn't get a design fee on the project. He said that they kind of dialed the project back a bit, but he did mention, he said they did do some wall acoustics, and that the shape of the ceiling and stuff, they didn't think it would be too much of an issue. He said that he has went on to say that he's used it personally a few times, and that at his daughter's wedding rehearsal dinner or something, they couldn't hear him when he was in one part of the room, and he moved over into a corner behind. He said he moved over into the corner against the wall, that there's one area that he could stand in one of two corners, and he said everyone could hear him perfectly. So it was the acoustics. So what I would suggest that we think about is to talk with groups and see about, before we go, I mean, we're going to spend, that was a lot of money. What was the total amount on that whole package?
I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, okay. Did anyone bring it from last meeting or 2 meetings ago?
When we had our get-together down there, I experienced the same thing. When Justin spoke, I couldn't hear a word he said. He was at
Yeah.
the end of the table, and by the time it got 2 or 3 people over, I could hear him real clear. And it seemed to get louder as we went.
Yeah, but no one was on mic at that. That was just people sitting in a room talking.
Still just
Yeah.
a huge difference, and a lot of to.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what it is. I think, just like you were saying, that
Yeah.
certain areas of the room you can't hear.
Yeah, I thought we were trying to address the public address solution, like who's on mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, we're trying to
Yeah.
address the acoustics, whether it's amplified sound or normal sound, we're still trying to address the same issue.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So do we want to, it's basically $3,000 for one part and then $3,000 for something else. I thought it was like, it's a whole list of different, and it's like $20-something thousand when you,
Totally close to 30.
it's $20,000 or $30,000.
You
So,
want us just sells equipment.
Because, I mean, he's real knowledgeable in these quotes.
you know, where we what we need to probably do is get Tom, who's the Sims, who's the AV guru on this panel, and get Tom down there to look around, look at the proposal, go through it, and then come back to the next meeting. And I'll talk to Tom about that and come back with a recommendation to the group. Okay. The next item is the new business item, discuss the potential EDC funding avenues to community and business organizations in the town of Hollywood Park, and that's a Ryan Henry item. You're on.
I have no idea what that's supposed to be.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought you all did the minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that this funding options for Hollywood Park Community Association?
I think that's probably
what that's
what
supposed to be?
was originally envisioned, because that's the only other new business. What they're talking about, and what that memo is talking about, is the the homeowners association kind of stepped forward and said, we're doing these events anyway. Let's coordinate, and you guys created some different avenues for them that you could fund improvements and bring in businesses and do that other stuff. And it has caused them a few problems legally that they've backed off on, because they're a nonprofit. And so exactly how those funds are distributed and how those funds are provided to them can cause them problems. And so not just with them, but with any group that you want to use to help bring in and improve stuff for one of your projects. A factor to consider in is, are they going to be under any legal restrictions? And so I was asked to write a memo, and actually Mike is the one, McCann from my office, that wrote the memo that you have in front of you. And those are just some of the practical options of different ways you can still utilize those types of nonprofits without causing them, direct problems, because there are limits on what they can take in and whether or not any money that's provided, whether or not they have to claim it as income when it's really not income. Because what you guys are really providing for is payment of expenses that they're having to give out in order to provide the improvements in their events. And so you don't have to pay them, you just have to have a mechanism that they're able to get those expenses paid. And it can be reimbursement, it can be you set up kind of a fund that is drawn from directly, or that they make requests for payments. The problem is the more you make it, the different ways that you do it that make it broader in how they can use those funds, the more red tape gets created, the more complex it ends up being. The simple stuff is the stuff that's a little more narrow.
So it's very, very, very specific.
Yes.
So what I should do with this is to kind of help resolve some of Holly's concerns on us being able to support them in their projects.
Yes. Yes,
And
sir.
so what I need to do is communicate this on over to Holly.
Yes, sir.
So she can share it with her leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that gives them a little more receptivity or whatever to be more receptive to some of our support potential. Support.
Yeah, when
So that's
getting our support is going to automatically come with funding, but some level of additional red tape, because we have to make sure our stuff we're supporting what we're doing. We can try and make it as simple for them as possible, but we also have to make sure we're not accidentally triggering a legal problem for them.
I think one of the things that scared them is that they thought we were counting cups. You know?
Yeah.
And so, and they're like, we don't have time to count cups. We can hardly run these events. We don't have time to count cups. So which ones are cups that are being drunk by businesses and which,
Right.
And they're kind of like, this is life's too short. So,
Yes, sir.
but that's what happened. I think it had something to do with the line of questioning that came at them at the meeting. And so so let me get with her. I'll pass this to her and then they'll let us know if we can help them or if they want some assistance on something else. To me, anything we can do to support that group, they're probably doing more to support the businesses of Hollywood Park than we are. So directly, they're making a direct support. So.
And I'm very comfortable with, from the legal perspective, with you guys giving them that support, because that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, thanks for putting that together. I'll pass it on.
Could I ask a question, Mr. Henry? Can I use the current resolution? I mean, I know what she is. She's a social club, and she can't do 35% more of her revenue in, and that's her problem from that. Can I use that same resolution to have her just send the invoices in the name of the Economic Development Corporation and pay that? Because I have the check right here, per verbatim, per what the contracts say.
That is one of the ways that it can be set up. The way the resolution was drafted, you guys can pick any one of those ways.
Okay.
So the short answer is yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a little more red tape that I'll have to talk to you about.
And because I talked to her on the phone about that, and I told her that anytime you deal with this, there's going to be red tape with it, because cities, I asked her for 1099, and she said, well, I said, look, I have to deal with this. You don't have to, but I have to. And I've got to go down this road, and that's just part of if you take the money, that's part of the restrictions that come with it.
We can arrange it so that they actually never touch the money.
That's what I need to do.
Yes, that's the way it really needs to be arranged, and then that won't cause them problems. But they have to either ask for reimbursement or get direct payment from us.
Let's try a different approach then. Why don't you take this document, and why don't you circle back with Holly and try to give her a little bit more of a comfort level with how this can happen.
I was going to. I have the letter the IRS actually wrote for her, and from my point of view, as doing this and all these grants, anytime they touch the money, somebody, especially the IRS or somebody, can construe it as a donation.
Okay.
If you do this or that. So I've done this before, and what I'll do is I'll talk to her and have them, if they have businesses, call, and they'll make it out the invoice in the EDC's name, and the EDC pay them, and they can do whatever they want to do, but we'll pay those expenses and take care of all the stuff without them having to touch it.
Okay. So you're going to go back to her and try to get.
I'll talk to her.
Try to get her back to the table then. Thank you. All right. Let's see. So that's. And then we're down to new business item number 2, and there's really any other future agenda or resolution items?
I have one.
Okay.
This is something I've been personally working on to attract a tenant into the Galleria Oaks.
Okay.
And so I've been working with a restaurant tenant that wants to locate in the space that was occupied formerly by the Bagel Factory.
Okay.
And that's about 3,500 square foot of space. We've been negotiating to take approximately 2,100 to 2,200 square foot of that space, change some of the interior wall arrangement, because Bagel Factory had more or less a production side and then an office side and storage. And this tenant does not need all of that, but it would be a nice Italian restaurant. It would be full service, good food, beer and wine, alcohol sales, and an ambiance of some indoor and possibly some outdoor seating, just small little cafe tables out right in front of their space only. And we're progressing toward the lease.
Good.
We're also doing the due diligence as far as contracting and construction work and things to be done with that. So my thought is the EDC perhaps could help them with some of the the incoming incentives to do that construction, particularly the demo idea that they have of changing the ceiling, taking out tiles such as this and raising it, elevating it, making a dart ceiling, kind of a night sky type of thing in the dining room. And I know that for walk-ons, there were things done perhaps in the permitting and inspection process. And I'm looking for ideas to what I could suggest.
I mean, one thing we could do, if they're permitting through City of Hollywood Park, we could not waive, but pay their permit fees. I mean, that would be a real easy item, is to, if they're coming into Hollywood Park and they commit to do it, we could pay their permit fees.
Okay.
As a thought,
So
that's not a lot of money.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this going to be a remodel of an existing interior structure?
Yes, it would be a very extensive remodel, because the bagel factory was plain vanilla space inside, really plain floors. The owner of the Italian restaurant would like to have some place that reminds one of sitting in a little Italian village setting somewhere. Complete change in the walls, the floors, the lighting, the ceiling.
You're making me hungry. No.
There is let me talk to you afterwards, because there might be something else that we can assist with, but I need some more information.
Okay, well, I have a lot more that I can supply, and so I won't name any names tonight, but we're really close. It's a good restaurant.
They're a veteran operator?
Yes, veteran operator. They've been in this vicinity before, so we know them, and I think they know us. And I would love to sponsor something up to the point of, proposing a project to some dollar amount. But then my role here, I want to be cognizant of the fact that perhaps I shouldn't vote on it the night that it comes
You weren't going to get to vote
to
on this.
attention. But I would appreciate help from anybody that has ideas about how to attract a restaurant and get them in. And
Well, with the Starbucks,
The owner of the property, they don't pay for any of the renovation?
they will pay a certain amount per square foot.
it'll be amortized in their lease.
Yeah. So yeah, the tenant ultimately pays for it over time.
See, and if Mike had this thing where people could take their golf carts there, and you could fill that up with several restaurants with the patio seating, I really think it would be well supported. I mean, as long as it was good.
Yeah.
But,
It'll be good.
I think the Enclave needs city council to come talk to them. Not crazy EDC people.
I've forgotten all of the details, but in the Starbucks situation,
$50,000.
we paid for the demo.
Okay.
There's going to be, or we paid for a part of the demo.
I was wondering.
There'll be some demo here.
Yes, there will be.
Well, it was a site. It was to get the site.
Sure.
To where the site.
Yeah, a different type of demo.
Yeah.
But there'll be some demo on the interior.
Okay.
Yeah. It was.
And that's all I had.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much. Sorry for the lengthy discussion on the list.
Mike, I went on vacation. I completely forgot about you.
Oh, no, it's no big
Give me
deal.
a day or two and I'll call you.
Don't even make it the next day. Just do it when you can. On the way out, I'll tell you a story. Uh-oh. Do you have time? This won't take a second.
Did you sign both of them?
No, I just signed that top sheet.
Okay, and there's another.
I'm gonna let you date them, okay?
Oh, yeah, I'll take them.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
I didn't sign any checks here, did I?
No, that's a finance, and I don't think he has anything for it.
All right, thank you,
The
Janice.
last one right there, sir.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Here's your pen back. That's exciting about your restaurant. Yeah, bring. I tell you what I'd do is you.